Make sure to turn off those Telegram notifications. So somebody named the people on Telegram have the most spicy, politically incorrect names, so that doesn't flash up on the screen. Note to self: never search anything with safe search off. So whenever I cover something, I always do a little image search to see who we're talking about. Just kind of see if there's a perspective on things. This is so this is a Ricky Gervais thing. If you scroll through this image search, you try to figure out, like, well, who's this girl we're talking about? The girl who's writing this article who's so triggered by, I don't know, whatever nonsense BS of the day. Like, who could it possibly be? Who could it possibly, all these girls, all these various women? Like, I'm just guessing. Let's go out on a limb here. I'm guessing this is the Emily Liebert. This is probably the person we're referring to. Just a wild 1 in a million guess. What are you, Nostradamus? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So Ricky Gervais thing, and the reviewers are not reviewing his comedy special so well. I saw the joke they're talking about. He was making fun of, I don't know if he was making fun. He's clearly making fun of the BLT community. Or the absurdity of the situation. The theater is aflame. No, really, the theater. Please head for the exits. The theater is aflame. You're going to need to evacuate now. Thunderous applause. Okay, well, that's the absurdity we're in. So Ricky Gervais did that. He did a whole special, but the one line, the setup for the turf war joke. He does this slow build up. And you can read the delivery, but it's not the same as reading delivery, and I can't even read it because it's not politically correct enough for the YouTube gods and masters, those Luciferian parasites. But if you watch the delivery, he does a slow setup, a slow boil, and you think, like, it sets it up so the joke's like, okay, it's mediocre, it's okay, and then it just gets better and better, and then the final punchline just kind of nails it. And it's like, it's the absurdity of the situation where we have to pretend like all this stuff is real, and take, like, Twitter teenagers. I mean, we were all teenagers back in the 80s and 90s or whatnot, and like, we just didn't have social media to record all our whatever nonsense we were involved in back then. It didn't allow for positive reinforcement. Yeah, they were like emos and goths and whatever punk was. It's kind of the 70s. Whatever was popular, just nonsense, right? But we didn't have the positive reinforcement of this circular engine where it's like you constantly pour oxygen into the engine, building up more and more RPMs, and it kind of traps people into things where there's so much film and photographic evidence going on social media, where if you're some emo or goth person, it's like you've got all this social media footprint of you from 14 to, I don't know, 20, or in this emo phase. I mean, you want to put it behind you, but you have everything is kind of built up on it. Well, back in the day before the internet, you could sample kind of things like that and just move on from it almost instantaneously. There was nothing to hold you to it. Where nowadays there might be a couple old, photographs of it, in your punk whatever phase, but nowadays it's different because you can build up this. You can kind of get locked into these characters, which I feel like some kids today are kind of getting locked into. Anyway, so Ricky Gervais tells this trans joke. It's freaking hysterical. There's the BLT community in general does a lot. They are really kind of feeling their own oats. The T in the BLT community, that thumbnail is filthy. I was stripping paint, forgive me. Does more than the rest of the BLG community, like a lot more. Even to the point where the other aspect of the community is kind of looking at them and going like, oh, yeah, this is, maybe dial it back just a bit. Oh, you're denying my very existence. We don't have trans rights right now. It's like, well, what rights don't you have? Yeah. I mean, you're talking legally. What rights is the state preventing you from asserting? You talk about other countries, perhaps not the West. You might have issue, but they never seem to talk about other countries that teach them applied lessons in physics. Gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared, and they teach that firsthand. There's more to it than that, but it's like every video could be your last video for YouTube. It's not the end of the world. No loss, buddy. The funny thing about videos on pop culture that don't get eyeballs a video that gets like 50 views versus a video that gets 500 views, the one that doesn't get eyeballs will get subs, which I know is kind of a self-own. It's kind of funny, but I don't take YouTube too seriously. I focus more on Odyssey and Bit Chute, where videos that get people arguing in the comment section, like videos that kind of, relatively speaking, blow up for this channel, don't. So it's kind of weird that you can literally just do filler videos, like see about it in a comics article, and you're guaranteed some channel growth if you're interested in that kind of stuff. I know there are people who put effort into videos, like Mecha Random is doing videos, and holy shit, she's been doing some spicy. She had a thumbnail where she referenced this South Park movie from 1999, and there's a line in there where it's Operation Get Behind the Sunmen, substitution, word, the people who don't have fair skin. It's Operation Get Behind those people. She used that as a thumbnail. I'm like, oh my god, dude, this is not the old YouTube of a couple years ago. They are not gonna do well at that. So the Disney chick who's working on some new Disney show got triggered that people are daring to criticize Disney. So you're telling me that if you hire a POC, any criticism of that actor is going to be Istaphobic? Yeah, that's pretty much the way it rolls. So a way to do a video and then talk about an entirely different video. That's, oh well. So what does it say when you've got people who are in, these are professional reviewers. I've seen kids say this on Twitter. They go, these are professional reviewers. Yeah, like, wait a minute. To be a professional reviewer, I assume that kind of just means you get paid for it, right? So you start a website, start a blog, and then if it grows, you review movies, do movies, talk about pop culture, and if the movie aspect starts taking off, you start taking advertising for it. So now you're a professional reviewer. That's all. That's kind of the definition. I mean, these kids on Twitter seem to think like, oh no, they have PhDs in film history. I'd be like, no, dude. Maybe some of them, but I don't think most of them do. The professional reviewers are just people with a social media footprint somewhere, and the channel takes off because they do funny reviews or insight and good reviews for some reason. But so they seem to think like you only need to pay attention to the it would have been funnier if the numbers were a little different, but the 14% from the professional 7 reviews on the internet somewhere versus hundreds of reviews from the audience score who thought Ricky Gervais was really funny. It tells you something about the culture war when people are laughing at, when people are laughing at Dave Chappelle, who I think is a nut. I think he's nuts. I think he's seriously, that dude's got some issues. But people are willing to accept Dave Chappelle somewhat throwing grenades in all directions, and with Ricky Gervais, people are really tired of being told what to think and what to do, and like, we're not compelling behavior. Yeah, but if you disagree, you're going to dox people, get them fired, pursue them endlessly. In the case of J.K. Rowling, you're going to show up at their house and stand out front of their house with their address visible in the background. 3 dudes holding up signs. That's pretty fucking creepy. That's not normal adult behavior to show up at somebody's house. Now, obviously, the threat is J.K. Rowling has got security. You don't. So if you're just some normie, in America, we have our own security in America, friend. So you better be very careful trying that. But they're trying to send this chilling effect on free speech, is if you speak out against one group of people, even if you're just like, I don't want to use pronouns. I think it's kind of silly. I just don't agree with that. It's like, oh, well, look what we'll do to you. It's like, you don't have J.K. Rowling money. It's like these people they're going to call your employer. Like they'll call the media, and then the media will call your employer and do something like, do you know that it's like, you're not researching a story. Like the Taylor Lorenz of the media, they'll do stuff. Well, she'll show up at your house also. They call your employer and they go, do you know you're employing a bigot? What's your response on that? And the employer's just going to be like, oh, no, well, if you say they're bigoted, we're just going to fire them because we're not going to go to bat for some anonymous employee over some issue we don't care about. They're just going to be fired. So the media got you fired. Oh, well, the media didn't do it. Yeah, they did. You know they did. We know they did. It's like, stop with this bullshit. That's the message they're trying to do. CNN did it when some kid or some guy does a meme about CNN. It's wrestling, and Trump is wrestling it, and the guy they're wrestling is got a CNN icon over his head. So they investigate him, they dox him, which was probably illegal, using illegal hacking methods to dox him. But CNN is never held accountable, because who's going to hold them accountable? I'm not going to say it. They're all breaking bread together. I'll say that with CNN. No, the FBI is not going to hold CNN accountable when they they break bread together, so to speak. So they said, oh, well, we're not going to divulge his information, but that may change in the future. Whoa. Okay, big brother. Gee, CNN, why does nobody respect you? So anyway, 1492, huh? I guess that number's got some significance. People are tired of this SJWs just cranking this shit up. In the 90s, the SJWs have made a big push, and people laughed it off, man. They just were not buying it. Now it's making a big push, but because it's got social media to reinforce it, and they can do the stuff like, oh, well, we'll get you fired if you disagree, so people are just keeping their heads down. Ricky Gervais is, probably worth $100 million. He's untouchable. You're not going to do anything for him for jokes. Gina Carano comes from money also. And J.K. Rowling is probably worth $1 billion. Where everyone else he's not untouchable. So, but people, like, they show you in wine is truth, well, in anonymity is truth. You see what happens. You're going to get the truth from people when they report on a Ricky Gervais thing. It's like, even if literally they didn't think it was that funny, they would probably give it a high score because it's part of the culture war. Now, here's the thing, as I saw some of the special, it was funny. He legitimately set up jokes, and he just knocked it out of the park. He did a slow burn, and then when it got to the last punchline, he really, really nailed it. I mean, the guy is a master at his craft. Some people are, and he wasn't making fun of trans people so much, but he was making fun of those who were doing too much, who were trying to do way too much. You got a lot of issues that are like, stuff is allowed to accelerate so far because you're not able to get honest feedback. Because even on Twitter, if you start, you're just going to get kicked off of Twitter. If you start, like Leah Thompson, some kind of swimmer for some college named Penn State, I think. If you start, honestly criticizing that, you're either going to get kicked off social media, or you're going to get doxxed and fired and relentlessly pursued. And worst comes to worst, somebody actually tries to do harm against you. There's a lot of legitimately mentally ill people out there who are dangerous. They're on social media. So, anyway, Ricky Gervais, I don't know what platform he's on. I should have probably... you can't even read the joke, and it's obviously it's not funny in writing as it is to watch. You can go watch his clips, various clips. The dude nails it. He's funny. He's like one of the few. He's like one of the. I'm not including Dave Chappelle in like one of the few politically incorrect comedians, because Dave Chappelle he pseudo punches in all directions. But I mean, he's better than most. He's at least doing something. He's going after the one group of people who are kind of at the top of the hierarchy. But Ricky Gervais, he did the Oscar speech 3 years ago. Wow, man. And, he knew it's going to be the last time he was ever invited up there. It's like, now we have, it's like, God, you should probably invite him back again. But, like, how is he going to top that? You can't. He called them all a bunch of, Epstein Island types. Because they're a bunch of Epstein Island types. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.